Hello, my name is Kennedy Brewer, and I'm currently actually a first grade teacher at a private school. I go by Mrs. Brewer, and our school actually does use structured literacy, and so that is how I teach literacy through a curriculum that we have. And so this course has not been like super new information to me, but it's been very refreshing to hear. And what has been new to me is the vocabulary, how to teach vocabulary, and that has been very helpful. So if I was talking to a parent about what is structured literacy is an evidence-based, research-based content on how to properly teach literacy, and literacy involves reading, writing, and spelling. That's essentially what literacy encompasses, and it teaches kids how to carry out those things. Structured literacy is based on SOR, which is the science of reading, which has happened for over 5 decades, not just by reading specialists, but by several different specialists across all fields, finding out the best way to teach children how to read, including all learners, not just the average learner, but even the most dyslexic learners. Structured literacy, for our school at least, and I'm assuming this is normal for most schools because of the different variations it has, meets the needs of all learners. It's kinesthetic, auditorial, and tactile. Within structured literacy, there is usually a phonemic awareness warm-up at the beginning, and that includes rhyming, how many words are in this sentence, at least in the younger grades. This is how it starts out. Rhyming, how many words are in the sentence, what words do and don't rhyme, which word is longer, how many syllables are in this word. That is kind of what first grade works with. And then the second thing is an alphabet activity, or at least in first grade, that's what they do. They have some kind of alphabet activity, alphabetical awareness, because they're learning about the letters and the sounds. And then from there we go on to our reading decks, which is where I flash letter cards in front of them and they say the letters as fast as they can, getting repetition in. Then we have our primary reading decks, which is where I show them picture cards with a letter. And so, for example, apple, they're associating words with a sound, which is helping them with their overall phonological awareness of sounds and letters. From there, there's new material, which usually introduces any things like letter sounds, digraphs, combinations, breathe, macrons, how to code words, how to decode words. They have spelling strategies that they introduce as well, such as Save Our Spelling, which is what my curriculum uses. And they actually have tactile blocks to pull down for each sound. So you're decoding a word, and then you're coding a word, and then you're putting it together. And then there's usually some kind of a review at the end, and then there's some sight words. Now, the vocabulary content is not necessarily super high in my curriculum, and so how to teach vocabulary, we actually have a vocabulary time. In my school, I actually have a vocabulary book that I'm supposed to start teaching in January, but this course has been really good because it'll give me other ideas to go about besides just the book. And so for vocabulary, a lot of us growing up, the way we did vocabulary was using a dictionary and writing the definition down 5 times and then taking a test, and then it's out of our head. A really great way to know if a student knows a word is doing word webs, identifying things that are synonyms, things that are antonyms, because if a student truly understands a word, they should be able to identify at least 2 synonyms and at least 2 antonyms to what the word means. So there's different ways to assess besides just memorization, and the same is true of spelling. Memorization really doesn't teach students to actually know the information, it just teaches them to memorize. But when you are giving students opportunity to have a evidence of their learning type assignment, that is when you know if a student knows it or not. And so one of the best ways to teach vocabulary is not to just introduce it once or introduce it a few times and then move on, but to continue to have an exposure to the word, because many of us don't fast track. Many of us need several exposure, especially our younger kids. They need lots of exposure to the word before they fully understand it and fully understand the meaning. So that is a little bit about what structured literacy is, and a good way to carry out vocabulary that is not always using a dictionary and then moving on. So thank you.